Economically, this agreement offers some benefits. As per the government's impact assessment, the UK's gross domestic product is estimated to increase by 0.13%, as the Minister has stated, as a result of this FTA. That's equivalent to £4.8 billion. That's in the long run. That's by 2040. So it's 0.13% by 2040. Let's put that into context. The hit to our economy from Brexit is around 6 to 8% of GDP, in the region of £210 billion. So an impact 44 times larger. That's now, compared to 15 years' time, we get 0.13%. While we are comparing with Europe, I note that the UK's free trade agreement means that 92% of UK exports to India will enter tariff-free under the agreement. Under the EU's deal, 96.6% of the EU's exports can enter tariff-free into India. Perhaps there is some logic, after all, to bigger trade blocs having more leverage. Wow. So, and moving beyond the numbers, I want to highlight the concerns already mentioned by many members in this chamber at the way in which clauses in the agreement on labour, the environment and human rights are characterised by a pattern of aspirational language and a lack of enforceability. So the Liberal Democrats have long called for a set of minimum standards in order to benchmark future trade agreements, which would include human rights, conflict and oppression, environmental, labour and safety standards, where they can be negotiated based on UK trade and human rights policy and a trade and development policy. Now I want to ask some questions to the Minister regarding India's role in busting the trade sanctions the UK has put on Russia. To recap, Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. Both the UK and the EU banned direct imports of Russian oil and petroleum products in December 2022. However, a loophole stayed open which allowed derivative products, petrochemicals, imported from third countries into the UK to continue using Russian origin crude oil and gas. In July 2025, the EU amended its sanctions legislation to target imports of petrochemicals from third countries that used Russian origin oil. This has now taken effect in the EU, so the EU has blocked this loophole. In October 2025, the UK announced a further sanctions package targeting specific third country entities that supported Russian fossil fuels. That included India's Nayara Energy, which is part owned by Russia's state oil company Rosneft. On the 2nd of December 2025, the Trade Minister stated in front of the Business and Trade Select Committee, of which I'm a member, we want India to do less business with Russia because we want Russia's war machine to be debilitated. There are lots of things I want to achieve in the world, but not all of them can be achieved through FTAs. So the Trade Minister and Trade team fully understood that India was and is selling Russia-originated petchems into the UK. We had leverage when we were negotiating the FTA, but instead the UK decided to cast a blind eye to India's sanction busting, helping Russia's war effort, and this continues still right now with the UK importing jet fuel and other petrochemicals from India, which are manufactured with Russian oil and gas. According to analysis by the Centre for Research on Energy and Clean Air, between the ban on direct imports coming into force in 2022 and the end of 2025, the UK has imported £4 billion of jet fuel and other oil products made at refineries in India and Turkey, which run partially on Russian crude. And that every month the UK delays banning oil products made from Russian crude, it's effectively writing the Kremlin a cheque for around £44 million. So my 5 questions to the ministers, and then I will wrap, are the following. What is his justification for signing an FTA with a country which is helping Russia breach its sanctions? 2. Was this issue discussed in the FTA negotiations? 3. Does the planned ban cover petrochemicals imported from India and other third countries derived from either oil or gas? 4. Please can the Minister give a specific date for when this ban will come into force? Specific date. What steps are required to effect this, and what is the timeline for each of those steps? And finally, what are the reasons for delay in implementing this ban? Why hasn't the government already closed this loophole? Thank you.